Hey, welcome to this podcast where the truth is released to inspire you to find your voice, bring out the gold within you, and help you reach your full potential to roar out loud in the world around you. I'm your host, Mary Shree, and I'm here to take you on a weekly journey of hope, inspiration, and empowerment. This podcast is where we believe in turning up the volume on life's practical tips, impart insightful wisdom, as well as share life stories of triumph, resilience, and passion. In each episode, we'll be diving deep into relevant topics in today's world, as well as into the incredible lives and stories of extraordinary everyday individuals like you and me who have been set free from the fears, lies, and have overcome great adversity and found their voice to release their roar. So whether you're tuning in during your morning drive, working out at the gym, getting ready for school, or cozying up with that good cup of coffee, get ready to amplify your life and ignite your courage. This is Roar Out Loud. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Roar Out Loud podcast, and I'm excited that you're here with us. And today I've got Allie over here, my right hand, literally, she's over here on my right hand side, and she recently was with me in Mexico. Woo-hoo-hoo! We literally just got back from Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta, and it was an amazing trip, and we got to do ministry over there, but we led a team. There was 15 of us. We led a team of ages like 17 all the way up to 24 years old.
Young people.
And that was amazing. And today, that's what we're talking about. We are leaning in and talking about leadership and raising up the next generation. So, Allie, when it comes to leadership and raising up the next generation, I think of two very specific things that's so important. And that is being in health.
Yes.
And that can go in many different ways, but there's something very specific that I want us to hone in on today. So it's being in health, and also that whole thing of perfectionism.
Yeah.
And when it comes to leadership, like I've heard from so many people, different testimonies of like their time in businesses or their time on ministry trips or maybe even working in the church. Maybe, I've heard of that. Yeah. Different people working in the church under different leaders, and how many times they feel this push to really not be excellent, but it's more of perfectionism. Yeah. And those are two very distinct things. Like many times we go, excellence, excellence, excellence. It's all about excellence, and I'm operating in excellence. But the reality is, many times we don't realize it's so subtle that we actually go from this thing of excellence, which really is based in performance, and we slip into this whole perfectionism thing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and even on that, it's like it's all rooted in control as well.
Yeah.
You know, because when you're operating in a spirit of excellence, and I'm kind of using quotation marks here because it's so easy to call it that, and there's a very, very fine line between a spirit of excellence and a spirit of perfection, control, and performance. And I know for me, the Lord has done this massive work, because how I'm wired, I love doing things with excellence. I put my heart and soul into everything I do it to the best of my ability, and the Lord actually did a work recently where he was showing me actually it can be excellent, but not be perfect. And I used to really put myself down a lot if it wasn't perfect, if it wasn't to my standard. Like my standard was like super, super high. It's actually unachievable. And I would be like, oh yeah, that's a spirit of excellence. And it's like, no, because I'm actually controlling everything in the lead up to that. And like I said, if it wasn't going right, or if I got something wrong, I'd be beating myself up. Like you start operating in shame and condemnation. Like, you're not good enough. You should have done that better. You should have anticipated that was going to happen, like things that come out of left field sometimes, and you're like, I had no like awareness that could have even been a thing, you know. So perfectionism, there's definitely a fine line, and leaders as well can very easily dip into both. Like healthy leaders can do things with a spirit of excellence, but not lean into perfectionism, control, and performance, because from what the Lord has given me, the revelation, it's all rooted in sonship. Because when you're rooted in your sonship as a son, as a daughter, you know who you are, you know what you carry, you know where your strengths are, you know where your weaknesses are, you know where you excel, and it's okay if you mess up sometimes. Like, it doesn't affect your identity in him.
Yeah. And it takes you back to that saying I've heard many times, progress over perfectionism.
Yes.
Because that's so real. Like many times I know, like for me, I too operated in that space of like excellence with different things that I would put my whole heart and soul
thinking
into.
It was excellence.
Yes, but the reality is it was like man pleasing. There was perfectionism on it. Like I had to get it perfect because what would people think?
And the disappointment of other people.
Yes, the disappointment. Yeah. So it dips into that whole man pleasing spirit and all those things, which are not rooted. And I love what you called out, sonship. It's not rooted in sonship. And sonship looks like, hey, I have 20 things on my list to do today and I got 2 done. And you know what? I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to celebrate it and be happy about it. Or you got something done and it doesn't look perfect, what perfect is in your mind, but maybe it's a little messy. Well, you know what? Sometimes God's on the mess.
God's on the mess. Hallelujah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and that's such a good thing. It's like progress over perfection because we can set such a high standard for ourselves and have a list literally as long as like our arm. Like for me, I love a list. Lists help me focus. They help me get things done. And some things I am super hard on myself. I'm like, I've got all these things on my list and I feel like I'm making no progress. Yeah. You know, I could get like one thing and it could have actually been a big thing on that list that I've gotten done. For me, it's like, it's not good enough because it's not the whole list. You know, if it's not the whole list, it's like pointless, you know?
And other people feel constricted by lists.
Yes.
They feel like lists are bounding me.
Yeah.
You know?
I've got it all up here in my head. Yeah.
And in that sense, they like feel a little messy with everything. And you know what? It's okay to feel messy sometimes.
Yes. And it's okay to operate differently as
God
well.
is in the mess sometimes. Like, oftentimes through the mess, he's teaching us that, you know what, things don't have to look perfect. Yeah. And leadership is the same way. Like, I think it's so important when you're leading people, whether you're in a business, whether you're on a ministry team, leading teams overseas,
and your family,
small missions, or you're leading a mission base or in relationship. Like, it's important for people to see that sometimes you as a leader, you make messes.
Yeah. And you don't have it all together.
Together. I can remember going back just a couple of weeks ago when we were in Mexico and we were in our hotel in Puerto Vallarta. And, you know, we were debriefing with our team in the hotel lobby. And that particular day as a leader, you know, being the head lead of the team, I wasn't feeling it. I was a little like, I feel nothing. I feel a little numb, but yet I'm showing up Jesus, you know?
I don't really want to do this today, but I know I've got a responsibility here to show up.
Yeah. And I was celebrating that in my heart. Like, hey, I'm showing up. I'm a leader. This is what I'm doing. However, in the midst of it, it was like, you came over, you're like, hey, we're just going to have the team cover you.
Yeah.
And I was on my knees on the floor and I was weeping. And it was just like, where before I would be like, oh my gosh, you know, they're going to see me crying, not strong. I'm not, you know, I'm too vulnerable.
Yeah.
But actually I was like, this is so good. And I felt so loved in that moment being covered by you and the team. Yeah. And leaders need that. Leaders need to show that they are real people. And I think that is so key when it comes to leadership and raising up this next generation. You know, it's so important to knock performance off. Knock performance off, because it's not about how well you do, but it's about leading with your heart in that place of love and letting people see the real you.
Yeah, that's so good. Like, because good leaders have flaws. Like, we all have flaws. You know, good leaders are aware of those, and good leaders are able to say, hey, actually, I need you in this moment. And for me, like, seeing that, because I knew, like, that morning as well, like, I knew the strength that I was carrying. Yeah. And this is the important thing as well, like, as a leader, having healthy people on your team as well, and having people that you can pull on and say, hey, actually, I need you to cover me, like, right now, like, and that honesty and that vulnerability, because, like you said, leaders don't have it all together as much as you maybe think they do, and the people in your life who are over you in some, like, capacity, even your boss at work, like, the people on your team, like, in a ministry setting, like your pastor, all of those things, like we put these people on a pedestal, like they have their whole life together, they don't have any problems, there's nothing going wrong in their life, and it's such a lie, you know. And like this is why we need other people on our team who are like, hey, actually, how are you doing today? You know, because like you say, we're human with real emotions, stuff comes up, we're in a process. And even with that, like on the trip, you were covering the whole team because you were the main leader, you know. And this is the whole point of having people on your team that you can really pull on and be like, yeah, actually, we're doing this together, because no man's an island. You're not meant to do things on your own.
Yeah. And I love that they were all younger people, because, you know, you said it's important to have people on your team that you can pull on. Mm-hmm. Well, oftentimes, and we saw it on our team, they didn't realize that they could be pulled on.
Yeah.
And so it's a matter of stepping in as a main leader and being completely vulnerable. And you as a co-lead, you too, you were vulnerable.
Yeah.
Being completely vulnerable and saying, hey, this is what's happening today. This is what's going on. This is how I feel. And just showing up your real authentic self. Because when you show up as your real authentic self and lead from a place of humility, and I always say that, like, that's so important. If I could teach the younger generation anything, it's leading with a servant's heart. And that's why I always say lead from your heart. Because when your heart understands serving, it understands love. And God is love. God is love. When you understand him in the depth of that place, you're going to rise up. And you're going to be the least of these is actually the greatest. You're going to come into that place. Because the reality is Jesus, you know, I said it to our team, Jesus in the Bible, he washed his disciples' feet and fully knowing that one of those disciples in that room was going to betray him for 30 pieces of silver with an ungodly kiss. You know, and show an ungodly false love. But in the midst of that, he still chose to serve. And so it's like, how do you, as a leader, if you're wanting to rise up and become a leader, and I believe every one of you out there have the ability to lead at high levels. And there are some of you that are afraid to step up and lead, and you know you are called to leadership. And I want to talk to the young people out there. Even though you are young, it doesn't mean that you can't lead. Everybody leads something. I said that to my team recently. Everybody leads something. If you woke up this morning, and if you're listening to this podcast, you did wake up this morning. If you woke up this morning, you got out of bed. Some of you made your bed. Some of you didn't make your bed. Some of you got out of your pajamas, and some of you may be listening to this and you're still in your pajamas. Some of you maybe brushed your teeth, and some of you maybe chose to just pop a mint in your mouth and not brush your teeth. But everybody leads in some capacity. How well do you lead yourself? When you learn to lead yourself, you're going to be able to rise up and lead others.
There is such an importance on leading yourself, and leading yourself well. And being aware of how you operate and all of those things.
And again, though, it doesn't have to be in perfection.
No, absolutely not.
Because there are areas, even in my own life, still, you know this, like, I have not arrived yet.
None of us have.
And none of us will. I don't
and none
believe.
of us will. That's the thing. It's the sad thing. None of us actually will.
It's not sad, because at least I don't think it is. I don't agree with that statement personally, because the reality is we're never going to be perfect until we get to that other side of heaven. You know what I mean? This side of heaven, we're always going to be in that place of growth, and we get to choose how much we grow.
Like, so even for that, like, where that statement came from, and I have to, like, express this, because the Lord gave me this wild revelation a while ago, because of how I'm wired, and I've said this even earlier, like, I have such a high value for excellence, which is sometimes leaned into perfection, so it's always striving to be better, striving to be the best me I can possibly be. And then the Lord started showing up in the mess, and showing up that things didn't have to be perfect. And then he gave me this revelation. It's like, oh, like, you're never actually going to be perfect this side of heaven. And I'm like, oh, I was actually like a little bit sad about it. But like, you know, that way it just broke off that perfection thing, that, oh, actually I can do my best and it might not be perfect and it's going to be okay. And that's also why we need grace. You know, that's why the Lord gave us grace, because we're so human. We make mistakes. We do stuff and we're like, why did I just do that? Like, it doesn't make sense sometimes. but the Lord shows up in the mess.
Yeah. It's so true. The Lord is so on the mess. I love that, because the reality is, even like when we were in Mexico, and I've had this on other trips before, things don't go as planned.
Yes.
If you're a leader in business, if you're a leader in any aspect, you know things don't always go as planned.
Stuff comes
and
up,
when you're operating in unhealth and you're operating out of that place of control and perfectionism and even a man-pleasing spirit, you can tell when things don't go as planned, because then you start getting anxiety and you start getting like, oh, I got to make this happen. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Instead of taking a step back and going, okay, wait a minute. No, I don't have to do anything. Let's just let God lead.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of that would be when we were just in Mexico. And seriously, like, we ended up being an hour late to one of our church services that we were actually going to be ministering at that night in Puerto Vallarta. And I'm going, Lord, I don't even know what you're going to do, because I mean, now we're out of time. It feels like we're so out of time.
Yes.
And that's what kept going through my head. We're so out of time. And I'm like, God, how are you even going to do this? Like, what's going to happen? And we were an hour late, not due to us, but it was the circumstances, you know.
And something came up. And
something came up, and then it was a distraction. Then also the traffic
was crazy. Yeah.
There was just so much to it. And some of our team ended up getting out of the car and walking 15 minutes just to get to the church building before the rest of us could even reach it. And even in that, I'm like, just go with it. Just whatever happens, go with it. And that was a key word in leadership, is flexibility.
Flexibility is
being
so
flexible, letting God just lead. Even if you're in business, if you're in church setting, it doesn't matter. Being flexible and letting God lead. It's good to have a plan.
Yeah. Plans are great. Plans are important, because God is not a God of chaos.
Yes.
You know, like, he loves administration. Like, he loves, because like, I have that gift. I love putting things in order, but holding it loosely to know that, okay, it might not go like that, but it's that flexibility thing.
And that's so key in leadership, holding it loose. Yeah. Because here's the deal. I say it all the time. We make our plans, but God actually orders our steps. Yeah. You make your plan, but God orders your steps.
So good,
so you can totally hold it loose and say, okay, God, I've done my part. How are you going to do it? And that's what we had to do in the church in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, and look how he showed up. Like,
and it was crazy how he showed up. We thought we weren't on time.
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening with, like, you know, when one of our team members got up there and gave that word.
Yeah, and he shared, and it was so powerful. The Lord literally just opened his mouth, and then we just started
read scripture,
and then it was like bang, bang, bang. We started seeing all these healings, and all these miracles just broke out. And I've never seen such an acceleration of the Lord's power moving like that. Considering we were like an hour late, the Lord's like, right on time, let's just go. And it was like bang, bang, bang. And you're like, wow.
Like, yeah, it literally, wow. It was a wow factor.
Yeah.
And then the crazy thing, what I loved, is that somebody that night sowed an offering into us of a watch.
Yeah.
And the Lord I was like, a watch?
What does that mean?
I was like, what does that mean? And I literally heard the Lord say, you are right on time.
Yeah. And we had such a laugh about that.
We did.
Because we were like, why did all that happen? Why are we so late? And why did someone sew a watch? And then we're like, oh, okay.
You're right on time. And everything that needed to happen happened that night.
Yeah.
Even though nobody actually got to get up and give an actual preach, scripture was shared, God was on the word, and it was just literally a 5-minute or less thing. And then all of a sudden, all these miracles start breaking out in the room, and people's ankles got healed, backs got healed, knees got healed, and people were getting completely set free that night. And it was so stinking powerful.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was so powerful as well. And even what looked to us like a mess because we were so late, one of the things, seeing the Lord move even in our vehicle that night as well, because in the car ride to the church,
in the traffic,
one of the guys on our team just started opening up his heart, and we were like, wow, Lord, you will literally use every moment. Every circumstance. Even if we feel like we're super, super late, it was then a safe place for him to just open up and just share where he was at, which we didn't know, you know? So it was actually a really amazing point for unity within the team and connection within the team. And even for him, just like him getting that ministry as well was really important.
Yeah, it was so important. And I loved how God used just every aspect and brought the whole thing really full circle and made us realize one of the things that he's reminded me of, I should say, he didn't make me realize it in that moment, but it was a reminder to me. God actually lives outside of time.
Yes.
And I say it so much on this podcast over and over again. We're more spirit than we are human because we come from that realm. He created us in heaven before we were ever fashioned and formed in our mother's womb. And so the reality is yes, we're here on earth, and God has a purpose for us, and we are called to rise up with the giftings that are inside of us and lead from that place. However, God lives outside of time. So even though in our natural realm we may panic because something isn't perfect, or we may feel anxiety because we're stuck in traffic and we're supposed to be somewhere, or late in an airport, or any of those things.
And
like,
it doesn't look like what we think it should look like.
It doesn't look like what we think it should look like. We just have to pause and go, wait a minute. No. I make my plans, but God orders my steps. So I can trust that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Right on time.
And I'm right on time.
Come on, mate. So good.
And that's part of leadership that's so important, is trusting the process. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, trusting the process is a big thing. Because even in those moments where it does feel chaotic, it is taking that step back and being like, okay, Lord, where are you right now? And even what amazed me, because we've debriefed with the team after that particular meeting in Puerto Vallarta, and I was really surprised at the team's reaction, because a lot of them were saying, I wasn't feeling connected to the Lord, like I wasn't sure if what I was doing was right. They were really, really questioning what they were hearing, what they were feeling. And I was so surprised, because the Lord was so obviously moving in power through them, because they were stepping out and taking that risk.
Yeah, but if you think about it, there was so much that happened, like we said, prior to going into that service in Puerto Vallarta, between the traffic and that delay and all those things, which, you know, can completely throw you off your mark, can throw you off guard. And I can remember going into that service too, going, like I said, I don't even know what's going to happen, because you know, I had this and this and this, like I thought we were going to be doing. And this particular church was so excited for our team to come and expect it. And I'm like, well, now we only have an hour. What are we even going to do, Lord? And then boom, it explodes, even though many of us felt,
which was so funny, because I remember on that particular night, I wasn't feeling any of that. I knew, I was like, this is what the Lord is doing. This is what he was on. And I was having conversations with people on our team, like, okay, you need to go do this right now. You need to go lay hands on this person. You need to go do this. Like, the Lord was so on my radar of, this is what's happening. This is what we're doing. This is the goal of tonight. And I knew that there was going to be a ton of healings break out, and there was. And it was such a high level of faith for even me to step into, like, as a leader. That was a whole new thing for me, actually being the one who the Lord was speaking to when other people weren't feeling it or not really sure what was happening. It's like, wow, this is why you also need people on your team, because sometimes you're the one that's feeling all the things the Lord is speaking to directly, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's someone else on the team, and the Lord's like, I'm actually asking you to trust them right now with what I've given them.
Yeah, and that's so important for if you operate in a team or the business world, because if you're operating in family, if you're operating in business, if you're operating in the church, you have team around you. Your kids, your husband, they're your team.
They're your
different people you know, so basically your people. When you're operating in that space, being aware of what's happening in the natural realm around you, and being sensitive to the natural realm of your five senses, because I believe those five senses correlate to what's happening in the spiritual realm. And you go, okay, what's happening here, you know, and being sensitive to that and stepping into that and knowing that, okay, not everyone may be feeling this, you know, but this is the direction I really believe as a leader. And so your confidence is in the Lord as a leader. So it doesn't matter if you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 17, 16. Your confidence is in the Lord as a leader. So I've seen 15-year-olds rise up and step out and totally like go after different things, you know, even in business. And, you know, one of my friend's sons ended up buying a house at 19 years old. You know what I mean? Like their confidence in leadership grew and they stepped out and they went after their goals.
Yeah, that's so good, Mary.
And so when your confidence grows in the Lord, you're able to obtain those things that are like, oh, hey, this felt far then, but it doesn't feel far now because I know who I am.
Yeah, and you've made progress as well with those little steps that you're taking. Like whether you feel like it's making big, huge leaps or you feel like it's imperfect, you are making progress.
Because in the Lord, you make progress as you continue to step with Him. Yeah. And that's the crux, I really believe, of leadership. Learning to lead from your heart because your heart is fully connected to His.
Yeah. And that when you're fully connected to the Lord and you're operating in sonship, you don't operate in a spirit of comparison with those around you. You're not afraid of people on your team. You're not afraid of them even being higher than you because they have different giftings and different skills. You've understood.
There's no competition.
There's no competition. And I loved that's what we carried on our team. Like we really stewarded that well with our team.
Yes, because it creates unity.
Because it created such a unity. And even at the start of our trip, this was something we did. Like we wrote our team like a prophetic letter of who they were. Like who does the Lord say you are? And they read it out on the bus. And other people on the team were like, oh, that's who they are. They were coming into agreement with that. So it removed that spirit of comparison, it removed the competition, it removed the performance, because when the Lord highlighted specific people on the team, they were like, oh yeah, like I can actually see why you're being highlighted in that moment, and I celebrate that. I celebrate that with all I am, because it doesn't affect my sonship, because I know who I am in the Lord, because this is who the Lord says I am.
Yeah. So if somebody say they're managing a Starbucks, and let's take it into the more of the natural business realm, or they're working in Walmart, you know, maybe they become a front end manager in Walmart, or they become a on the floor manager in Starbucks or something, and they're young. You know, how can you take that into that business realm when, you know, like you talked about prophetic, but not everyone believes in the prophetic. So not everyone listening to this podcast may even be a Christian.
Yes.
You know, but what I believe is that everybody has gold in them.
Absolutely.
I call it gold. It's giftings. It's things that they were inherently created with, born with inside of them, that will enable them to rise up and to be powerful leaders. And so when you put it in that kind of a setting, take it out of the church setting, put it in that setting, how can somebody look at one of their teammates or look at someone else as a coworker and go, oh, you actually, I see this and this and this. Yeah. Break it down for me.
It's so good. It's, like you say, it's calling out that gold within them. Okay, what do you see on their life? What do you see them operating in that's different from other people on the team? And this is a good example. I used to work with a guy, super, super sweet, and he would always see the best in other people. Like, he wouldn't be throwing people under the bus. It would never be saying bad things about other people. And he just was always lifting people higher. And it's like, you're such an encourager. So it's putting those things, like declaring those things over them, like this is who you are. And it doesn't need to necessarily be from a prophetic realm. Essentially that's what it is. But if you, like what Mary said, if you're operating in a business with your co-workers, those words of edification and encouragement are so important, because it's like, even if you see that in their life, it's calling things out, not necessarily as they are, but who that person is. Because if you see something inside, it's important to call it out.
And also, Allie, what I love about that too is that you actually step into that with the person. You go, oh, I see that you are an incredible encourager, or you're incredible this, or you're incredible that. And your heart then begins to connect with that in them. And what it does is it releases, we saw it on our team, I've seen it on other teams that we've led, it actually releases that spirit of unity within your teammates, within your co-workers, within the different people that you're around. Maybe it's if you're a youth pastor and you're leading a youth group, like it will release that spirit of unity. And so many people always ask, how do you get your teams unified? How do you create, people to actually rise up? I've had people ask me that before in the past. How do you get people to rise up and actually operate in that way? And I really believe it's because you call that out in them.
Yeah.
You say, okay, I see this and this and this on your life, and you call it out.
Even if they're not operating it at this very, very moment.
Yeah.
When you call those things out on people, the things that you see, the things that they are operating well in, it removes that spirit of division.
Yeah.
When you look at them, you're like, oh, I'm actually not competing against you anymore. I see you for who you are. You are such a gift to other people, just the way you speak to them and you build them up, that you're not tearing people down.
Yes. And that's for both businesses, churches, all aspects of leadership, because it's so easy to fall into that place of comparison.
Yes.
And comparison brings discord. Comparison creates a competitive environment instead of an environment of unity. And honestly, when your hearts are connected and you unify, there's greater explosion.
Yeah.
There's greater progress. I've seen it over and over again, even in the workplace. There's so much forward movement when you have a spirit of unity amongst yourselves.
That's so good.
And it's so important when you rise up as a leader, it doesn't matter your age, that you really think in that direction. How do I get this place? How do I come into this place of unity? How do I release unity over the people?
Yeah.
Maybe you're 18 and you lead a small group in your college or high school, or maybe you're a dorm facilitator, or maybe you're one of the heads on your sports league, different things like that. It's like, how do you create a spirit of unity? How do you get that camaraderie together? How do you create that?
And it's loving people for who they are, even with their irritations and their quirks and all that as well, because the reality is we're human, we're all different, we all have things that are like, that really irritates me that you do that or think that way. But it's pushing past that and go, but okay.
Seeing the gold.
And
because
digging for it
sometimes. Because the gold is what helps you look past those other things. And that's one of the things I said on our team when we did those prophetic words. And I said, okay, now create a declaration, like a statement out of that of who they are. I was calling on other teammates to do that.
Yeah. Which then pulls them into it as well.
It
because
pulls
it's like
them into it.
You're not just listening to who the Lord says this person is. You're then becoming connected and you're coming into agreement with it.
Yes. And then at the end of that, I said, okay, now everything you all have heard, that's the way I want you to see each other moving forward into the next 10 days of this trip. And that right there releases so much power when you actually see, oh, this is who they actually are, even if they're grating on your nerves, even if these other things are happening.
Or there's dysfunction operating or whatever.
Yeah.
And we even had people say to us, like, we've never had a team so unified like this before.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Even hearing back from our team about feedback that they've had just from friends who went on different trips as well, who were on teams similar to us, because there was only 15 of us on the trip. Some of them were on a trip of 17 people. They did not have that unity. And she was even surprised when she was telling us that. She was like, oh, like, what do you mean you didn't have that unity? Even on a big team, there's this lie that often floats about that you can't have unity within a big team. And we were only 15 of us on the trip, but there was such unity. There was no bickering, there was no arguing, there was no big issue that came out of that. And honestly, in my experience, it all comes from the leaders that are leading the team. And for us, the team saw us really, really unified. And when your leaders are unified, it then trickles down onto the rest of the team.
I agree with you. It does trickle down to the rest of the team. But say you're on a team or in a workplace and you are a solo leader. You don't have other leaders, so they can't see that unification between each other. I mean, many times, for the majority of people, they're going to be in that spot as like the head manager or the facilitator or whatever, how would you get them to create unity within their people when they are the only one leading?
Well, you would find your key people.
Yep.
Who can you pull on in your team to like be your right hand and like support you and what you're doing.
And raise them up.
and raise them up, because
find your key leaders.
Yeah, like you'll see leadership on people in your sphere of influence.
Yes. And there's different levels of leadership.
Yes.
So some people lead themselves well, but they don't necessarily lead an entire group well.
Yeah.
You know, some people lead a small group well, but they can't lead a room well. Some people can lead a room well, but they can't lead a stadium well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's different levels of leadership.
And there's people who can lead a room who have a hard time with a smaller group of people.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, it's just amazing. And it's the whole thing. The Lord's been speaking to me a lot about favour and access as well. You know, because you can have favour to lead a room, but it doesn't mean like you'll have favour with like a smaller group of people.
It's what you were created with.
It's what you were created with.
You have powerful tools in you, and if you're called to lead a small group, lead it to the best of your ability, as if you're leading a stadium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pour into them.
Yeah.
Be the best leader that you can be. And what does that look like for you?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like control. It doesn't look like perfection in your team. It looks like coming low and serving at the highest level. Serving at the highest level.
And loving well.
And loving well. One of the key things, though, when it comes to serving is make sure that you're called to that lane.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good when you say that again.
One of the key things when it comes to serving is make sure that you are called to that lane. Now, you could be called to that lane, but maybe it's not for right now. It could be for 5 years down the road. It could be for 10 years down the road. Yes. And you know that there's something on that, but it's not for right now. Talk to me about that.
So how do you then steward what you have right now to be able to step into that in future?
Come on.
Because if you're not stewarding yourself well now, you will not reach that place. And maybe you will reach that place, but you will not be healthy when you get there. And there's such...
If you jump ahead.
So it's so important to grow as a healthy leader and have people that are pouring into you, that you can go to for advice, that you can like... glean from, like, and I'm talking about really, really healthy leaders, because anyone can lead, but the difference between good leaders and unhealthy leaders there's a big difference there, you know. And like, finding people who love you to call out the gold, but also call you higher as well.
Absolutely.
Like, and accountability, and it's honest feedback as well. Feedback is so important, and I used to be terrified of it. I'd be like, there is criticism, like I'm not doing any good, like I'm just not going to do it at all, you know.
And that's rooted in an orphan spirit.
It's rooted in an orphan spirit, and it's there's so much more I can say on that.
There's a lot,
you know.
And if you're coming from that place, of criticizing yourself or criticizing others, you got to recognize, oh, wait a minute, I'm not in health fully to lead here.
Yeah, and like you've got to be in health when you're leading, and it's okay like to know and be vulnerable, because even on our trip there was a moment where I'd had a conversation with you saying, actually I feel really, really weak right now, like it feels weak even saying this and saying that I need covering, because it's okay as a leader to need that sometimes and receive. Like there's such a thing when you're a leader, it's like you've got to have it all together and no one's allowed to pour into you. Which is like, no,
such a lie.
No. Like,
a lie.
That's when you're leaning into unhealth. Like, if you cannot humble yourself and be like, hey, actually, I need some support right now.
Hey, I feel weak today.
Yeah, I'm struggling. I'm having a hard time today. Yeah. And allowing the people around you to come in and cover you, because that was so humbling for me to even say that with our team. But when they covered me, I was like, oh my goodness, my heart. Like, I feel like better already, you know, because it's like, oh, like I don't need to do this on my own, because when you're in that place of leadership, feeling like you have to have it all together, it becomes this thing of, oh my goodness, I'm on my own here. Like I just need to kind of push through.
And you step into performance.
Yeah, and perfectionism, and then you start controlling things. So it's being aware of those trigger points as well. Okay, like what am I trying to control right now? Like what am I doing well? Like where am I struggling? And what am I stepping into right now? Like that I need help with, that I'm not doing it like well on my own, you know, because there's things that you'll do really, really well, but this is also why we need other people, because there's things that you do really well that I don't, and there's things that I do really well that you don't, which is why you need people on your team.
And it doesn't take away from my leadership.
Absolutely not.
and it doesn't take away from your leadership.
Yeah, it actually enhances it.
It does. It enhances it. And that's the thing, like when leaders can go, oh, you know what, actually I am weak here. So I need to bring people on my team that can fill those gaps.
Yeah.
Because they actually lead better than me in here. And the great thing about that is it actually makes you look better.
Yeah.
As a leader.
It does.
But many times leaders will go, oh, I can't reveal that weakness.
Yeah.
I can't. I hate that. I can't.
Yeah.
Because the
yes, I can't.
Yes, no, I can't. The reality is yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can lean into truth.
Yeah.
Being truthful with yourself and truthful with others and saying, hey, I am weak here, or hey, I am not that great with this. It's just like me. I say I'm growing in technology. Allie, on the other hand, is brilliant with technology. I need an Allie in my life.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. You're leaning on my gift in there.
Yes.
And I love that because then I can serve with the giftings that the Lord has given me. You know, it's so fun.
And I'm not afraid of you stepping up and doing greater things, because that's the thing as leaders too. It's like we need to look for the ones to pour into and raise them up and let them fly. And if they fly higher than you as a leader, you actually need to go, whoa, that's amazing, because I've done my job well.
And
many times leaders will then begin to pull back and get afraid of the other person getting bigger or taking off in greater ways, or it doesn't take away from your leadership. It doesn't take away, you know, and I've seen it so many times where leaders are afraid of people getting bigger, so then they squelch the gifting.
I mean, I think about the Lord's reminding me right now of Saul and David in the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, and how Saul was king, and he was so threatened by David. And
he was so threatened.
Wow. Like, and just how the Lord turned that whole situation around. And it's like Saul could have had like an amazing kingdom, but he chose to partner with fear and like just didn't pour into David the way he could have and the way he should have. He just allowed like his insecurities to overtake him. And as a leader, like, that's not a good place to be in when you're so threatened by the people who are underneath you that you're pouring into. That's not good.
Yeah, and so that when you become threatened, you actually keep them down low instead of raising them up higher. And in leadership, we're called to raise up people.
Yeah. And like for me, on the other side of that, like being someone that you're pouring into as a leader, I'm able to then take things off your plate that you're maybe not so good at, and that's me serving you and loving you well, because I love to do these things, because I also see what's on your life, and I see where the Lord is taking you, and I see what the Lord is going to do. And you can't do those things well if you're stuck doing things that you're maybe not as great at, because I'm like, no, actually, let me take that from you to free up that time to do other things.
And then as a leader, you got to learn to receive.
You got to learn to receive. From your team.
And honestly, that has been, I think, one of the most challenging things for me as a leader, is learning to just really receive, because I've always been the doer. I've been the one that's carried people my whole life, you know, just carried people. And so when people come under me, like a Marion and an Aaron, and hold up my arms, I'm like, whoa, what is this?
What's happening right now?
What's happening right now? And how do I just take it and rest in that? And that's been a hard thing, just being vulnerable. That's been a hard thing for me to really step into. But I know that God has been taking me slowly into that.
Yeah. And it's been so lovely watching your journey in that and watching you grow in that. And like my heart is like so filled right now, because it's like you allowing yourself to receive is allowing me to fulfill my purpose in that, you know, because the Lord has called me to serve, and he has called me to come low and just love and pour in, and I love doing it. Like, it's not a burden. Like, when you're serving, service should never come out of a place of being a burden, you know. It does come out of a place of love, because you're like, oh, I just want to do that. It brings me so much joy doing that, you know. So it's like, when you allow me to serve you, like, I know it's hard to receive sometimes, but when you're allowing yourself to receive, it's like, oh, like, it's me filling my purpose, you know. It's so good.
Yeah, it is so good.
Even being able to serve you the way I did on this last trip, and having the team see that, there was definitely a shift in them, because they were able to see, oh man, you actually love each other really, really well.
Yeah.
There is a connection there. There's a unity there. And it encouraged them to start leaning in and serving just out of that place of love. It's like, I don't have to do this. I get to do this. It's a privilege to do that. And I've seen leaders a lot in the past feel like they just have to do everything on their own. And you're like, that makes my heart really, really sad. It's like, no, like, you're not called to do all this on your own. Like, there is people around you who are supposed to be in your inner circle to help you, support you. And when I was saying earlier about the whole favour and access thing, it's like, you can have favour with people, but not everyone gets access, you know? And there's people, even in, like, your life and, like, with your family and stuff, like, I have certain access that other people don't have because of the relationship that we're called into, you know? So there's certain levels of leadership, and that's the whole thing. It's like not leaning into that competitiveness, that comparison that performance, because you'll see people like, oh, I want that access, but it's like, are you willing to do the service and like lay your life down to get that access, you know? And it's like, has the Lord even called you to be in that lane to get that access? You know, and that's what you were saying earlier, is like, there's such an importance on knowing your lane. Is this my lane? Is this where I'm supposed to be? And if it is something for the future, okay, how do I steward what I have now to get there?
Yeah. So what would you say to all of the young people? We're talking youth, college age, young adults listening out there. How do you steward this realm of leadership in their life? Like, and I'm asking you because, you know, you're still single, you're young, you're, you know, like many of the people on the team were like, you're like the big sister or the fun aunt, you know?
I love being the big sister.
And I love that. And they're like, and for me, they're like, and you're like the mom. And it's true. I mean, on Instagram, I'm Mama Hope to the nations. I mean, I carry that mothering heart, and with that comes, you know, raising up big people. And that's what I'm called to. And so I really want to talk to the young people, like I said, youth, college age, young adults, and all of that in this area. Like, what are some key things that you would give them to, if they don't feel they're operating in health right now as a leader, even within themselves, what are key things that you would say to them? Give me 3 things that you would directly say to them.
Okay, number 1, find a leader that you can serve. I think that would be a huge one for me, because that was a big thing for me. I didn't even realize I was doing that at the time, but it then kind of came into that. It's like, find a leader that you can meet up with and just talk with and really, really glean from.
And it has to be a 2-way, yes.
It has to be a 2-way thing too. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, pray about it. Like, ask the Lord, okay, who can I go to, and who can I really just lean into and like talk about anything, because you need to be able to talk about stuff as well, and like not be shut down, and find someone who is healthy. I have to say that as well, because that's so important. Like, someone who is healthy, who's operating with a lot of fruit in their life, because that's the thing, it's like, test the fruit, right? So if you see someone that's healthy and you're like, actually I could glean a lot from you, like, pursue it and see what happens, because if it's of the Lord, he will open up the door. I've seen it happen in my own life. Like, when I've pursued things that have been him, he has opened up the door. And other people maybe don't understand it, but the Lord is obviously doing something. There's something for you to gain from this person. So that
and it's been a 2-way thing, right? That's one of the things that when leaders are in unhealth, it's like, serve me, serve me, serve me, serve me. But when you go after, like, your key, your number 1 key, you said, is find a leader that you can serve. Make sure it's a 2-way thing where they are pouring into you and you are totally serving them and giving back. So it's a two-way exchange.
And serving,
so go with the second one.
And I want to say something just like that as well, because serving is not like, I'm just trying to be like direct here as well, because serving, like, it's not just like the person's just take from you all the time, because if you're hitting that point of burnout, that's not right.
No, it's not health. That's why I say, like, the leader is not in health.
The leader's not in health, you know? So, like, the leader would want to pour into you as well. You know,
make sure that they are.
Make sure that they want to pour into you as well. And like, that's, it again comes down to communication and openness and honesty. Like, hey, like, I really want to serve you. Like, I just want to glean from you. Like, and I'm looking for somebody to pour into me as well.
Yes.
So if you're verbally saying those words, like, that opens up the communication to say, okay, like, I'm open to pouring into you, like, and disciple you, because discipleship is so important.
Yeah. And don't feel bad if they say no.
Yes.
Because the reality is maybe they're not called to you.
Yeah.
So keep searching. Because I guarantee you there is a leader or leaders that are called to pour into you and that you are called to serve in this season.
Yeah.
So give me our second key.
Second key, number 2, would be have a teachable heart.
Yes. So true.
Be teachable.
So true.
Don't be walking in pride. And if you feel yourself like, well, I'm not operating in pride, that's pride. That's pride talking right now. And I feel like some of you listening are actually operating in that right now. So just be aware of that. It's not a shame thing. You know, we all have areas in our life that we need to grow. So be teachable. Like, start asking for feedback. Like, hey, how are you experiencing me right now? Is there any areas I can grow in? That would be the things to ask those around you.
That's so true. Very, very important to keep a teachable spirit and to have open communication in that sense with your leader and the people over you. Like, like you said, how are you experiencing me? What are areas that you see are my weaknesses?
Yeah.
What are areas that you see are my strengths?
Yeah.
Where can I grow?
Yeah. And take it to the Lord as well and ask, is there any weight on this? And if there is, the Lord will tell you. He'll be like, actually, I've been trying to say that to you for a while and you've not been listening. Hey, I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. It's happened to people I know. There's things I remember having a conversation with a girl I lived with once. And when this all happened, she was very, very shut down because it was like a kind of household meeting. And then later she came and she's like, you know, the Lord's been trying to talk to me about that for a while and I just didn't want to listen.
Yeah.
So like hearing it from someone else, like was like, oh, and the Lord will do that. Like if you're not listening, he'll bring it up some other way until you get the point. You know, if your heart's teachable enough, it'll be like, okay.
Yeah.
Because if you're not teachable, your heart becomes hard. And then that's not a good place to be in.
No. Because you're not receiving.
You're not receiving.
And you can't give out from a hard heart as well. It's like walls.
Yeah.
And some people say boundaries,
like,
but it's really walls.
No entry.
Yeah.
Wall.
So what would you say is the third thing?
Number 3, lead yourself well. Because you cannot move forward if you're not leading yourself well. So it's like self-reflection. So getting the feedback from other people, being teachable, having people pour in, and then actually applying it to yourself. Like being a leader, getting up in the morning and making your bed. This is going to challenge some of you right now because some of you don't do that. And there's something to that. Like when you get up in the morning and you've made your bed, it's like, oh, actually, I've achieved something today. Yep. You know, because leaders have forward movement. You know what I mean? Leaders make progress, even if it's little things, like getting up in the morning and making your bed. Like that is huge.
Yep.
So huge.
Our forward movement causes Red Seas to part.
Get it, Mary.
It does. And it is true. It's the little things, making your bed.
Yeah, the little things that no one sees. Like, are you leaving your dishes, like, just all over the kitchen because you can't be bothered? Yeah. You know, like, how
are you getting up and presenting yourself well?
Yes.
Are you showering? Are you are you brushing your teeth?
Yeah, you brush your teeth before you leave the house in the morning.
Yeah, are you doing all of those things?
Yes.
It's so important. But in reality, it's so important to lead yourself well. So important to lead yourself well. And part of that too is like leading in health. I mean, that is one of the things, and just being vulnerable where I have struggled with. It's like, one of my weaknesses is I really don't always love waking up and like, you know, I take the kids to school and then go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to go to walk. I want to sit. I want to sit with Jesus and I just want to be in peace. And then when I go to the gym, it's like, oh, I actually like this. My body's like, hey, we like this. You need to do more of this.
Or go for a walk or something. Yeah. Like that's leading yourself well.
Clear your head.
They do, because you're not stuck in that rut of, I don't want to do that. I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
If you're not leading yourself, how can you lead other people? Mm-hmm. You know, if you're not leading yourself well and prioritizing the things in your life that are important, that are bringing you into a greater realm of health in all areas.
And will create longevity.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're not fully functioning at 100% in those areas, it doesn't mean that you can't still lead.
And it doesn't mean you're failing either.
It doesn't mean you're failing. Yes. It just means it's an area of growth, and great leaders recognize their weaknesses. Yeah. And instead of shying away from the weaknesses, they step into the weaknesses. Yeah. And they say, okay, like, yes, this area of my life needs work. I will admit it. And I'm going to lean in. And even if you start with small goals, short-term goals, because all great leaders create goals.
Yes.
All great leaders create goals. And so if you have short-term goals and you say, hey, I'm going to do the gym twice a week or once a week, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to journal once a week, you know, just getting yourself into healthy habits.
A habit, yeah.
You know, making your bed.
Because the more you do things, the more it does become a habit, and then you're doing it without even thinking about it, you know? Because what feels hard in the moment is actually creating growth. And like you say, it's creating longevity and it's creating legacy, you know, because it's like you're going to be teaching other people, actually, as much as you're struggling to do that right now, like keep doing it, keep persevering, keep enduring through this like little bit of hard right now, because it's going to be worth it in the end.
Yeah, and if you can get these concepts when you are young, you're in high school or you're in college or you're just that young mother or that young father, if you can get these concepts while you are young, think about how much more you're going to accomplish by the time you're 30, you're 40. You're 50. You know, it'll be way more than what even I've accomplished.
And me as well. Yeah.
So it's like I would love to go back to my younger self and teach my younger self some of these things. Even though, I mean, I had a pretty good concept of leadership as a young person, and that was one of my telltale signs that I had leadership on my life, because I was always thrusted into leadership positions. Always. And it was because of the maturity that I walked in, and I know that was because of the way that I was raised and had to become an adult and miss out on so much of my childhood. But not everyone has that experience. And so say you're not where I was even when I was 19 or 20, you're not behind, you're right on time. And if you get these concepts now, you can be so much further in even 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. You can be so much further and have accomplished so much in life.
And I want to say this too as well. Even if you don't feel like you have made a lot of progress in your life, today's a new day. You can always start today, you know? And I think about the progress that you've made in your life, and then because I've gleaned into what you have to share and like what you're teaching me, I've then been able to step into my growth a lot faster because of the path that you've toiled and dug and went after, you know, the things that you've got breakthrough in.
All the healing.
I
pursued it.
Yeah, you pursued it, and I've then got access to that at a much faster rate than what I would have had I just been doing it on my own, you know? And even what was really, really powerful, the Lord showed me this as well, like on our team, the breakthrough that a lot of them got was accelerated because of what you've walked through, because of what I've walked through, and then they have like a smoother journey to get there, and it's a lot faster. Because they were so young, like 17 to 24, really, really young team, and see them get massive revelation that it's taken even the things that the Lord has done in my life, it's taken years to get that breakthrough. And I'm like, wow, like look at the breakthrough that they're getting. Like I celebrate that. It's so amazing because then it's like they can move a lot faster, you know, and their own leadership.
And it's so exciting. It's so exciting for me. So exciting for me to see people just literally like at a fast rate thrust into growth like that.
It's so amazing to see.
And know that, wow, they are going to be so much further than I was even at their age. Like, I love that.
I love that too. It excites me as well, because I think if I had that revelation at their age, my life would be completely different at this point. And it's not diminishing what the Lord has done. It's like, oh, it's just like a different story and it's a different circumstance. And I celebrate that they are not going to have to walk through the same crap that I've had to walk through. Like, that excites me so much.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And it's been a lot of crap.
A lot of crap.
It's been a lot of crap. But God,
and he restores everything, and he's in the mess, and he uses everything for his glory, you know, like when you really lean in and be like, I wish that didn't happen, but it did. So like, let's move forward and work through it and grow from it and heal and all the things, because then it literally gives access to other people to step into their breakthrough.
And it gives a lot faster access for him to say, boom, here, you get this because of what they went through, because you chose to lean in. So Allie, this has been so good. This talk on leadership. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because I feel like we release so many gold nuggets in this podcast. And if you're out there listening, or I should say, when you listen to this podcast, I want to leave you with some questions to ask yourself. So one of the things I want to ask you is, where do you believe that you need to grow in leading yourself?
Yeah.
I think that's such an important question, because we're all called to lead in some capacity, whether you're in the workplace, whether you are in your youth group, whether you're in your high school, in your family,
managing a business,
in church, any of those things. You're all called to lead at some capacity in your sphere of influence. And more than that, you're called to lead yourself and lead yourself well. So where are the weaknesses? Go after those weaknesses. Ask yourself, okay, what areas am I weak in? What areas do I need to grow in to become the better version of me?
That's so good, Mary.
What is the question you would ask them?
The question I would ask is, where are you leading already in your life? Who are the people that you have influence over? And some of you are young, like, who are going to be listening to this.
Yeah.
Who might just be the older sibling, you know? You're leading your younger siblings, you know? Like, that's
so true.
That's a sphere of influence, you know? Like, how are you leading in your family? How are you leading in your workplace?
Yeah.
So where are the places that you're called into a leadership role for this time in your life right now?
For the season that you're in.
The season that you're in.
Because this, I guarantee you, the season that you're in has a realm of leadership over your life that's operating even now.
Yeah, that's good.
So ask yourself, what season am I in, and where am I called to step up and lead? So important. Another thing I think you should ask yourself is, what areas am I already operating in health as a leader?
Yeah, that's
and
good.
Recognize that about yourself. Recognize, okay, these are the giftings I already have. And then say, where can I begin to insert them and they be useful to other people? Because here's the thing. People are waiting on you. People are waiting on you. I've said it before on this podcast, if you woke up this morning with breath in your lungs, and I guarantee you did, because you wouldn't be listening right now. So if you woke up this morning with air in your lungs, God breathed the breath of life into you. You are here on this planet for a purpose, for such a time as this.
Get it, Mary.
And you're called to lead in some capacity. You're called to create an influence in some capacity. And so who are you called to influence? Who is called to be in your sphere of influence? Who can you speak into and begin to pour into and create a healthier version of them and grow yourself as a leader while you do it?
Yeah, that's so good. So good, Mary. Yeah. I think as well, like, just something on that, what is your vision for your future as well?
Yeah.
'Cause it's not just about how you're going to lead.
Yep.
It's like, why are you going to lead that? What's the greater purpose? You know, what has the Lord called you to step into for those people that you're going to lead?
Yeah, that's such a good question. What is the greater purpose? And if you don't know your greater purpose, that's okay. But if you want to find out your greater purpose, sit with Jesus. He's the one that created you. And if you don't know him, I want to invite you into a place right now where you can get to know him and just simply ask him, Jesus, make yourself known to me. I want to know you. I want to know your heart. I want to understand why you created me. And so I want to invite you into a place right now. And Allie, would you just lead them into the prayer and inviting Jesus into their heart? Because I really believe that there's going to be somebody out there that doesn't know the Lord listening to this leadership podcast and how to lead themselves. And I really, really strongly believe that everyone can lead from a place of not knowing the Lord, but they can lead from a greater place when they discover the Lord and discover who he created them to be.
Yeah, that's so good, Mary. Yeah, so if that applies to you, just hold your hands out now and, like, who is this Jesus that they're talking about? Because they're talking about him with real relationship. You know, it's not just this airy-fairy God in the sky. It's like, no, we have a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
So just hold your hands out
good.
and close your eyes, and we're just going to pray.
Thank you, Jesus.
Jesus, we just thank you for who you are. And Jesus, we just invite you into our lives right now. We thank you that you have a purpose for us. We ask, Lord, that you would just forgive us of the things in our life, the sin, the things that we've done that we're not proud of, God. We just ask for forgiveness and we just lay it at your feet. We ask you just to come into our hearts right now and change us from the inside out. We just declare that you are Lord and Saviour over our lives. We just thank you for what you did on the cross for us.
Yeah. Lord, I just pray for every person that's listening that doesn't know you personally, that they would just lean in and really begin to hear your heart and your heart for them as an individual person. I thank you, God, for the leadership that's on people's lives that are listening to this podcast. Both young and old, I believe, will listen to this podcast, but it's specifically the young people, the next generation. Father, that you would just release over them the spirit of wisdom and truth and revelation into who they're called to be and where they're called to lead. And Jesus, we just thank you. We thank you for this next generation that you're calling to rise up and take their place in this world. And we bless their sphere of influence as they step into leadership in Jesus' name.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends and family. Always remember, your voice matters. Your dreams are worth pursuing. And you, my friend, have the power to roar out loud.